You know, some brands command just an incredible amount of loyalty. This is the story of one of those brands, a confectionery empire that wasn't dreamed up in a fancy boardroom, but was literally born from the scarcity and rubble of post-war Italy. Its journey is, well, it's a masterclass in strategy, in secrecy, and just the raw power of a really good idea.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a fact that is almost impossible to wrap your head around. Somewhere in the world, a jar of Nutella is sold every 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds. To put that in perspective, they sell enough jars in a single year to circle the entire Great Wall of China 8 times over. That is the kind of scale we are talking about here.
And that right there is what makes this story so compelling. This isn't just about a chocolate spread. Nope. It's about ingenuity that was born from pure desperation, a story with roots that go back over 200 years. So let's start at the very beginning, because to really understand Nutella, you have to get the unique historical pressures that made its creation, well, almost inevitable. What's so wild about this timeline is how history just kept repeating itself. You see, way back during the Napoleonic Wars, a blockade made cocoa insanely expensive. So clever Italian chocolatiers started mixing in local hazelnuts to make their chocolate supply last longer. They called it gianduja. Now fast forward over a century to World War II, and guess what? Same exact problem. Cocoa is super rare and rationed like crazy. And this is where our guy, a pastry maker named Pietro Ferrero, steps onto the scene. So here's the crucial thing. Ferrero's first product, it wasn't a spread at all. It was actually a solid loaf called gianduja. The idea was you'd slice it up like a block of cheese and put it on bread, a cheap, high-energy snack for tough times. But then, a happy little accident changed everything. A crazy heat wave apparently melted a whole batch, and that gave Pietro the brilliant idea for a creamy, spreadable version. He called it Super Crema, and because just a little bit went a long way, it was an absolute smash hit in cash-strapped Italy. Super Crema was a big local success for sure, but it was Pietro's son, Michele Ferrero, who saw the real, global potential. He was the one with the vision to take this humble, local product and build an actual empire. So in 1964, Michele perfected the recipe, made it ready for mass production, and gave it a name that would become absolutely iconic, Nutella. I mean, this was pure marketing genius. You've got nut for the main ingredient, hazelnut, and then that suffix, ella, just gave it this soft, sweet Italian sound that was perfect for international markets. This wasn't just a new name, it was the birth of a global brand identity. And this quote right here, it gets to the very core of Michele's strategy: total, absolute secrecy. He ran the company with an iron fist. He refused interviews. He never let anyone tour the plants. The recipe became as closely guarded as Coca-Cola's. And this wasn't just paranoia, you know? It allowed Ferrero to keep an obsessive grip on quality control and gave them a massive competitive edge as they expanded like wildfire across Europe. But conquering Europe? That was one thing. Cracking the huge but totally different American market, that was going to require a whole new playbook. Let's dig into how they pulled it off. You know, when Nutella first landed in the US back in '83, it kind of stalled. Americans just looked at it and went, what? What do I do with this? So the company pivoted to this brilliant 3-step strategy. First, they gave it a job. Forget dessert, forget snacks. Nutella was for breakfast, on toast, waffles, whatever. Second, they framed it as part of a balanced breakfast, which was a direct appeal to parents who wanted something quick and seemingly wholesome for their kids. And finally, once it was inside the house, they just let social proof take over as people started experimenting and sharing all their Nutella creations online. And that healthy angle? Man, it worked. Maybe a little too well. The company got slapped with a class action lawsuit for deceptive advertising, which they ended up settling for $3 million. It's controversial for sure, but it just goes to show how incredibly successful their strategy was at turning a sweet treat into a daily breakfast staple in millions of American homes. But today, the story has gotten, well, a lot more complicated. The very things that powered Nutella's incredible rise are now the source of some pretty intense scrutiny, especially from a new generation of consumers who care a lot about health and the environment. So what is actually in that iconic jar? Well, let's just take a look. As you can see pretty clearly here, it's half sugar, 50%. The second biggest ingredient is palm oil, coming in at 20%. And the ingredient it's named after, hazelnuts, that's way down at number 3, with just 13%. And this exact recipe is at the very heart of the controversies the brand is facing today. All right, let's break these issues down. First up, palm oil. Critics connect it to deforestation. Ferrero's defense is that they only use 100% certified sustainable palm oil, and they even use satellites to keep an eye on their supply chain. Then there's the high sugar content, which gets it a pretty poor nutritional rating. The company's official line there is all about moderation, that a small 15-gram serving is a reasoned pleasure. And yay, even the hazelnuts have some controversy, with concerns that their sourcing plans in Italy are creating these pesticide-heavy monocultures. And look, this isn't just online chatter. This stuff is really starting to hit their bottom line. Take France, for example, one of Nutella's biggest markets. Its market share, which used to be this untouchable 85%, has now dropped all the way to around 67%. And the reason is simple. There's a flood of competitors selling organic, palm oil-free, or lower sugar spreads, and they're winning over a lot of modern consumers. But, and this is a huge but, despite these cracks in the jar, it would be a massive mistake to underestimate the powerhouse that Nutella built. The Ferrero Group today is this secretive, family-owned confectionery giant with a global reach that goes way, way beyond just one spread. You might actually be surprised by what else is in their portfolio. Of course, there are the big ones like Ferrero Rocher, Kinder, and Tic Tacs. But through a whole bunch of major acquisitions, they also own American classics like Butterfinger, Keebler cookies, and even Blue Bunny ice cream. This diversification strategy is absolutely key to their continued dominance. And they are definitely not slowing down. In 2025, they made a massive $3.1 billion move buying Kellogg's North American cereal business. Bringing brands like Frosted Flakes into the family isn't just about getting bigger. It's a really smart, strategic move to get an even tighter grip on the American breakfast table, the very same territory that Nutella first conquered decades ago. Which brings us to the final and most critical question. Nutella is a product that was born from scarcity and built on secrecy. It is a beloved icon, right? It's the taste of childhood for millions of people. But as today's consumers demand more transparency, healthier food, and corporate responsibility, you have to wonder, can a secretive company that was built on a 60-year-old recipe for pure indulgence continue to win over the next generation? That's the real question.